Welcome to Creator You.
Hi, this is Laura Betterly, and this is my class that's going to answer age-old question. I followed all the rules, all the instructions, all the courses in the world, and my leads and traffic are not converting, and I do not know why. And I will give you that answer right now. The actual answer is the problem isn't your leads or traffic. Your problem is your follow-up. My name is Laura Betterly. I have founded many different companies, including PCDJ here, but I really started out first as a musician in the world, and I've taken those principles and brought them to the marketing world, a little bit more creative and a little bit different than some of you would think. But here you go. I've worked with Digital Marketer. You can see I've worked with Michael Sane and Andy Jenkins. I have courses called Mobile Local Fusion and Traffic Genesis came out. I've worked with Frank Kern. I've done a lot of stuff on the stage. I have an agency called Yada Marketing and a CRM, which I will tell you a little bit more about, called Closem. I've had some notable clients, and I've worked with everyone from Frank Kern to Russell Brunson to JJ Virgin, and even original shark Kevin Harrington, as well as award-winning artist Chick Corea. And I'm just telling you this to let you know that I've got some experience. So let's get into marketing basics. The simplicity of it at marketing, the purpose of marketing is to create desire and sell something. It's as simple as that. It's the way we create desire and we sell. Now, let me give you a brief history because this is really important to know where we came from and where we're going. Now, in the past, staying connected meant advertising with newspapers, phone directories. Let's take a look at that. When's the last time you've looked in the yellow pages for anything? TV, direct mail, telemarketing, print ads, word of mouth, and now we have the internet. Now, keep in mind, some of these are still quite good, but things like the yellow page do have issues, and telemarketing, there is the do not call list, so that makes it a little bit harder to reach through to people. It's not the effective thing that it used to be. Now, with the advent of the internet, you have social media, you have the web, you still have TV, and the big thing is that people are walking around with computers in their hands. They're called phones, smartphones. Now, mobile really has changed the game. Wireless phone, tablets, and they're all geolocated. So let's say, for example, you're in the mall, you're very likely to get an ad for a store that you're walking by because they're able to see, meaning the ad networks are able to see that you're located close to whatever store it is and maybe push an ad for some sort of special and whatnot. And then you've got things like Google Maps, Yelp, OpenTable, and texting. All of these things have changed the game as far as advertising goes. So you want to know what that has to do with you? Absolutely everything. Because here's what consumers take with them. They walk out of the house with their keys, their wallet, and their phone, and that's it. And tell you, to be honest with you, the wallet's going away because now you have iWallets. So you don't even need that. So really all you need is your keys and your phone. Now, do you feel naked without your phone? I know most people do. How many of you have gone home when you've realized you brought your cell phone and you had forgotten it? And that's just what it is. And it's a jungle out there. There's a huge amount of competition, and you need to be the guy that people know. And the way to survive is to do your research. So my philosophy is know before you go. And you really need to look at your competitors and do some market research before you do your lead magnet, before you do one page, before you try to sell anything. If you do not know your market, okay, you do not know how to sell them, okay, make them want, then you're going to fail over and over again and think it's the traffic or it's the technology. And really, this is the one thing that you can do that will make the difference between making great sales and failing. Now, here's a book I'm going to suggest to you. It's called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. It's old school. I think you can buy it on Amazon for less than $15, and you should buy it. And it does let you know a little bit about your market, okay, and how you should be looking at things. For example, it will give you these laws for if you take a look at who was the first person to fly across the Atlantic, and you would get that it was Lindbergh. And that is true. But if you thought about it and asked the question, who was the second person to fly across the Atlantic, you wouldn't be able to answer because it doesn't matter. It's the first in a category that wins, the first recognizable individual. Now, if you want to go ahead and say, but I'm in a market that everybody else is in, how can I be first? We can create a new category. For example, who was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic? That would be Amelia Earhart. Ask yourself the question, who was the second? It actually doesn't matter. And this is one of the things that I look at when I'm doing anything, is not only that, but also how to position, okay? You want to be able to take a look and see what you are versus everybody else. Now, I'm going to give you a few research tools and hacks. First one is called Answer the Public. And it's a really interesting tool. It looks a little weird, as you can see here, but you can put in any, let's just take a look at the word bulk mail, and you can do a search, and this will take a moment or two, as you can see over here. By the way, this is a free tool. There's a paid version of it, and it gives you this visualization of how people are asking about this online. And it's real interesting. Bulk mail. What is bulk mail? What is direct mail? What is bulk email? What is direct? And you can see by how deep the color is, if this is something that is actually like, what is the more important thing? Now you look at it in these visualizations, right? And here it's like who, what, where, how, will, when, why, can. And then there's even more here. To, is, can, be, for. And you can go ahead and look at the data this way. Now, this is a few real interesting things because you know how people are searching. B, if you want to write like articles or write information, you're going to know what people are actually asking question-wise. The other thing you might want to do is you might want to find something out about this and even search Amazon and look at reviews, because you'll get what people are happy about and what they're critical of. But this is one of my favorite tools because it just gives me, what do I need to write? What questions do I need to answer when I am working with someone? Okay. And this is the visualization. And some of these are not perfect, but a lot of them are really great. That would be my first thing to look at. Second thing is I would look at my competitors. And where would I look at my competitors? Probably I would go ahead and find them online. So let's say we'd go bulk mail services, bulk mailing services. And of course, you've got all these other ones, but I would maybe opt in to if they have any emails, I would go on their page so that I would be retargeted by them and see what their ads look. I would also go ahead and go to the Facebook ads library, and let's choose an ad category, all ads. We're going to look at something that says bulk mail. I don't think we're going to find anything on this. I could be wrong. Oh, look at this. Boom. Here's some ads. And not only can you see the ad details here, but you can also see the URLs. Okay. Or they're actually, I'm sorry, that was their page. But here, now you see their landing pages. How valuable is it to know the landing pages of your competitors? I'll tell you, it's very valuable. The other thing you want to take a look at here too is, let's just go back to this. And we're going to go bulk mail because that's what we just did. Now let's take a look at something here. This tells you when the ads were launched. And these are not launched all that long ago. So the newer ads, you wouldn't necessarily have quite as much confidence in as ones that are older. take a look. You can see in this niche, we've now found a whole bunch of, it's funny, people I know have ads. This is from June 4th, June 3rd, and it goes further down is the older ones. This is May. And the longer that something is running, the chances of it being more successful is higher. And you can see here, it gives you audience size, what their ad spend is. It's pretty nice to have. So that's another tool. And you want to write all this stuff down, of course, so that you can go ahead and come up with your strategy afterwards. But I wanted you to see that the other thing you want to look at is the Google Keyword Planner. And you can give them your page or start with a keyword. And what that'll do is it'll give you an idea of how many times a day somebody is searching your keyword and how much it costs to buy. A rule of thumb is that you want to be in a niche that gets enough searches, but that isn't too expensive. So you might want to find something a little bit that's along the lines. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that traffic you get from search is pretty valuable, right? Because that person is going ahead and they're looking to answer that question right now, and they have a problem. In fact, the chances are if you're the first person they reach with that, you're the person they're going to go ahead and buy from. Now, that means that you're got an existing interest and you're channeling it into your own website or landing page or a phone. Now, when you're using social, it's not quite like that because you're catching somebody's attention and that they may or may not be the right target. And even if they are, they didn't express interest. You have to get them interested without any whatsoever other information. There's a lot of things we can do to continue that, but just get that Google traffic versus Facebook traffic. Google traffic, the per click is going to be higher, but it's going to be a much more qualified individual because they were searching and they were looking for you, where they'll just stumble on you in Facebook. And there's one other one I didn't show you, which is called similar email. And similar email is really interesting. Similar email goes ahead and gets all the emails for various and sundry different competitor sites. Like, for example, I asked them to get all the emails for Ontraport and ActiveCampaign and Lemlist. And my closing product, these are all competitors. And I keep, right, Infusionsoft, and go high level. And what's interesting is I now have a really good swipe file of what they are sending and what's working. And I can look at it here and I can see where it's going and whatnot. And this is really good because there's nothing wrong with using swipe or getting an idea what's working for your competitors. Rip it off or do it 100%. It's just, it kicks off the creative process. It gives you the ability to check out a few things. So there are some research tools and hacks that you want to do before you even start your first campaign, web page, etc., and lead magnet. And the other thing is you want to know your position, as we spoke out before, is what makes you stand out versus everybody else, and why should they care? And that's another big point. Most guys will go ahead and write copy and say, look at me, I do this, and I. And your public doesn't care about that. What they care, and they want you to answer this one question. And this one question is only, what's in it for me? And if you can answer that question, what's in it for me, then you'll get them. If you do not answer that question for them, what's in it for me, you will waste your money and your time. So if you're in a crowded market, these are the things to go ahead and do to make yourself stand out. Now, the real answer to this is to be everywhere, because it's the only solution. There's so much competition out there. Things are in and out. It's very easy to forget what's what. So you have to be everywhere. And I don't know if you realize it, but it can take up to 14 touches, even more, to close a deal. And here's the truth of the matter. Here you go. Maybe you got through to somebody through the phone, and then you emailed them, and then you did a snail mail and a Facebook message, and maybe they saw you on a map. You got a text, maybe they saw you on a billboard. Then you called them again, and you finally got the deal. Could be even longer than that. And that's what it takes. So a lot of guys think, oh, I'm going to put everything online, and they're going to buy just because it's online. But the truth of the matter is you've got a little bit of a harder thing to deal with when you're just online, because they don't know who you are, and they can just hit that X and leave. So you have to answer every question and anticipate every single thing that they're going to need and want from you before they even know it, because that's how you close somebody. So my method is you find and you remind your leads and traffic that you are the solution to their problems. And the only way to do that and dominate your market is to use Google, Facebook, retargeting, maps, emails, text, voicemails, billboards, TV, direct mail, and phone calls. Now that sounds overwhelming, and you can go ahead and just pare it down to email, text, voicemail, and let's say Facebook, okay, direct mail and some phone calls. Now you can go ahead and join the beta that they have with Hulu, and that's really interesting because you can target people by their demographic, and it'll only ads to people that maybe were at your website before. It's a little freaky. I have Fubo TV and I have Hulu, and in both the cases, websites that I've gone to, ads for them are showing up on my web TV, and that's pretty interesting. And you can do that, and that's not really that expensive, nor is Facebook or retargeting or any of these things. Now, maps, you have to, if you have a local business, you would just claim your listing on maps and whatnot. And all of you know about email. Now, text, that is the bomb. And I'll tell you a little bit more about this, because here's where emails fail. So you have this email list. You've paid $100. Let's say you paid $1 for every person who's on your list. And let's face it, you've paid more than that. So you have 100 guys, you paid $100. Only 20 of those 100 guys open up your email. Maybe, sometimes it's less. So now you've got all these emails, and 80 out of 100 people do not see your message. They don't open. Now, if you were in school and you got a 20%, that would be a fail. That would not be a win. So why are we so excited when only 20% of our people see our message? I fail to understand. But nonetheless, these 80% of people, it's not because they don't like you. They could be blocked and filtered, or they just have email fatigue, but for whatever reason, you're not getting through to them. So what do? We use other methods. Okay. So we get this 20% to open, but this 80% we can communicate with elsewhere. Okay. So what you can do is you also have people who are just visited your website, and the stat is only 1% really taking action, but I'm going to just say for argument's sake, 5% taking action by filling out a lead form or buying something. Again, that's 95% of the people who hit your website that do nothing, right? And again, a 5% on a test would have been a fail, not a win. So what you have to do is take these guys, the guys that didn't open up your email, the guys who gave you some traffic but didn't actually do anything, and we retarget them. And what we do is we show them ads that remind them of you. Now, if you don't think it works, I'm going to give you an example. I happen to have a thing with shoes. Most girls do. And I see these ads, and I say no first time. I might say no the second time. I might even say no 10 times. But at some point, I buy the shoes. And you can see my shoe collection here and know that it actually works. So Here is the text messaging read rates are ridiculous. 97% of people who get a text message read it within the first 3 minutes. Okay, that's 97%. Now, if I was in school, a 97 would be an A+. I'd be good on that. So I have added to all my opt-in forms for a cell phone number. And I got to tell you, even though and over 80% of the people do actually fill it out, but it's more valuable to me because one of the things I do is if somebody gets an email from me, and I also send them a text and say, hey, Bob, just letting you know I sent you an email, be on the lookout for it. And they'll go in and look for it. And it's a just much cleaner conversation. So here's some stats. 8 out of 10 consumers will give you their cell phone number, which I just explained. But many consumers actually go ahead and prefer text. There's no email fatigue on it, and there's no filters. So that's one way. And here's a real crazy thing, is we realize that direct mail, because it's not being used all that often, is a very effective way of getting through to people. 90% of people open up their direct mail, and 42% of them scan or read it. In fact, if you personalize it, it ends up costing the same as a high CPM Facebook ad, and you get a better conversion or response rate. Now, here's crazy. The life cycle of an email is 17 seconds, but the life cycle of a direct mail piece is 17 days. So you take a look at all of this and you want to know your metrics. So if you're going to your website, first thing you want to do is by how many visitors, how many go to your shopping area, how many place an item in a cart, how many make a purchase. Now, if you can increase any of these things by even a small fraction of a percentage, it'll make a big difference. So these are things that you need to know with your website and how you're going to take a look at that. Now, the answer to all of this is speed and repetition. It's really the key to going ahead and create a huge amount of sales. Now, here's a really crazy thing here, okay? Rapid response. The impact of actually calling somebody increases the conversion rate. If you can get through to somebody within the first minute of them filling out a lead form, you have a 400%, or actually 391% higher chance of closing that person than if you hit them within 2 minutes, which makes it 160%. It goes all the way down to 70% within 24 hours. Now, I got to tell you, less than 1% of the companies actually go ahead and do this and actually try to contact a person immediately. It's a real interesting thing, but as we were talking about earlier, when it came to existing interest, you want to catch somebody when there's really interest. When are they interested? When they wanted to get the information, which was X amount of minutes ago. So you want to get through to them right away. Now, the best time to contact a lead was within 5 minutes, and it's really within a minute, but that's the truth. Now, sales pros who reach leads within an hour are 7 times more likely to close. 50% of buyers choose the vendor who responds first, and only 7% of the salespeople respond within 5 minutes. And companies that automate their lead nurturing see a 45% increase in their return on investment. So when you combine physical and digital, it pays off. So you're talking about calling the person, sending direct mail, and all these different methods that we just discussed. So here's some more stuff to look at. 68% of marketing respondents said combining digital and direct mail increased their website visits. 60% of marketing respondents said that combining digital and direct mail increased ROI. And cold prospects are 15% more likely to respond to you after getting physical mail. And it's very funny because I do send out direct mail postcards and they're personalized, so it's dear and whatnot. And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten through to somebody on the phone. They're like, yeah, I got your card. It's sitting right here. And you also will get 40% engagement rates by combining these methods. Now, this is something I want to talk to you about, which is engagement. So a lot of guys look at their open rate and click-through rate, and click-through rate is definitely part of the engagement. But about a little less than a year ago, Apple changed the rules of the game by not allowing tracking to be as prevalent as before. So you're not getting accurate conversions on, let's say, on Facebook or Google without putting in some very specific trackings. The other thing is that it also really makes a huge difference in seeing what your open rate really is, because you get opens, but you do not get the report back to your server that this person actually opened. So your best way of looking at this is looking at engagement, which is somebody who either reaches back by replying or actually clicks through. Those are engagement rates. And you can see a 40% engagement rate by combining methods. And this doesn't even take in account like retargeting and whatnot. So when you go ahead and combine digital and postal mail, you see an 11% increase in downloads, a 68% increase in website visits, a 63% increased response rate, a 39% increase in traffic to an actual physical location, 40% conversion rates, 60% increased ROI, and 53% increased leads. One of the things that we do with direct mail is we put in QR codes, which get scanned and go to our website. And you can actually track who actually clicked on that or scanned that. So you can even get a more close picture of who is looking at your direct mail and when. The other thing to keep in mind is that persistence wins. 84% of prospects say no 4 times before they say yes. And 50% of sales happen after 5 contacts. 83% of prospects who request information don't buy for 3 to 12 months. And how many of us are going to really go ahead and follow up on that? Open rate for campaigns, meaning multi-message outreach, are 80% higher than just a single email. And campaigns, which is a combination of different messaging, generate 18 times more revenue. And 92% of sales pro give up after 4 or fewer calls. And what we call nurturing leads, they make 47% larger purchases. And here's the thing. There's 3 ways to make more money. And way number 1 is to find a new customer, which is way more expensive than finding a customer you already have and finding something else to sell them, which is really your second way of getting more income. Finding something, selling something else, or having something consumable so you have a continued amount of sales coming from your public. But the third thing that a lot of guys miss is referrals. You have a happy customer, they're going to refer you to them. And, referrals are really easy to close because you already have a trust factor. When you get somebody new on the line, they don't trust you. And one of the reasons why you have to hit them over the head with so much communication is they don't know who you are. They have no trust. Everything on the media tells you about how businesses are ripping them off and on. This handles all of that. When you have a referral, they already trust you. It's a great way to go. And that's why we love the value of a thank you. 84% of buyers start their buying process with a referral. They ask their friends for a referral. And 82% of consumers check reviews before buying. And that's another thing about campaigns, is that after you have a customer and they're happy, you can ask them for a review. You can ask them for referrals. 92% of buyers trust referrals from people they know. And 91% of customers say they will give referrals. And you know what? Only 11% of salespeople ask for it. Referrals increase customer retention by 5%, and they boost profits as high as 25 to 90% because the customer acquisition cost is nothing. So more touch points equal more income. And if you want to take a look at this in predicting sales by implementing methods, there is a calculator that I have on my Closem website that you can take a look at. And this is pretty interesting. So you adjust the slider based on your information. So let's say you get 80 leads a month and you follow up on 30% of them and your close ratio is 15. Let's say your average sale is $110. This is what your monthly sales would be. Now, if you add SMS, your sales would double. It would be $792. If you automated your follow-up campaigns, you would actually go ahead that instead of getting $396, that would be $1,584 over time. And then if you add postal mail to the mix, that would actually increase your sales from $20 to $2,376. So when you take a look at the point of repetition and all these things that I was telling you, and this is an average, but this gives you an idea of how much more money you can potentially make by doing what I'm suggesting. So the answer is automation. And this is the methods that I suggest. First of all, you need to find the right CRM for you. Okay. There's a whole bunch of them. There's Pipedrive and Lemlist and ActiveCampaign and Ontraport and Monday and MailChimp and Salesforce and HubSpot, Aweber and Zoho and Go High Level, Keap, Infusionsoft, Kartra. You got to figure out what you want and what you need. Now, of course, I'm going to talk about Closem because that's my product, but I don't want you to think that I'm doing this presentation to just get you to buy Closem because that's actually not the point. The point is, and the reason why I built Closem was because it actually had all the points that I was looking for, which is email, text, voice messaging, and it also had personalized direct mail, which means that we can send a personalized letter or postcard to anyone in the list. And it keeps track of a whole bunch of other stuff. And so you got to look at what is it going to cost you? Does it have all these things that you need and whatnot? Is it easy to use and whatnot? And make sure, like I said, it has email, text, direct mail, templates. That's the other thing is that do you have templates? And like not everybody is a great copywriter. Not everybody has the time. What you want to do is you want to set something up once and have it be repeatable. Okay. You want to know what lead that comes in from this lead source for this lead magnet should get this follow up. And immediately, let's say you can send them a voice message, followed up by a text message, followed up by an email. And you just go ahead and then you send them a direct mail piece. And what you do is you daisy chain this so that it can go on for as long as it takes. Now, let's say you talk to somebody and they say, well, I'm not ready to buy now. I'm going to buy in 6 months. So then you actually tag that person as somebody who's going to buy in 6 months. And that's fine because in that 6-month period, you remind them and you add value. Send them information that might be of interest to them. Help them. Always offer to help them because again, and I'll tell you this one more time, the question is, what's in it for me? And that's what your prospect wants to know. What's in it for them? And so this gives you the ability to do this without wasting all your precious time. And I'm not saying wasting, but here's the thing. If you're a solopreneur or a small business person, you're already struggling with technology. You're already trying to figure out what your message is. You're trying to keep the customers that you have happy. And let's say you're a plumber. You know how to plumb. You don't know how to write copy. You don't know how to send out an email. You don't have the time for follow-up. See, when you put this kind of stuff in on autopilot, then you're talking about increasing your sales incrementally without having to put in too much more effort. So you set it and forget it. And you get something that plays with everyone, meaning that if you use Samcart, it works. And I love Samcart. We use that. But if you use Kartra, it works. If you use Groove Pages, it works. If you use Lead Pages, it works. If you use WordPress, it works. And that is really what you're talking about here is putting yourself in a position where you can continually follow up on your leads. And so this lead that you bought or you paid $20 for ends up being more valuable over time. And you don't have to go, oh God, that lead was lousy. It wasn't the lead, it was the follow-up. So also don't forget and don't dismiss the value of a phone call. There's a lot of guys out there who really don't want to confront people and don't want to have a conversation. And that's a big deal. And if you don't like doing that, then hire somebody or give them a commission. But I'm telling you that based on if you have the higher the ticket item that you have, the more likely you really want to have a conversation with them or somebody in your organization. And yes, you can do as much as you can on the web to make them somewhat comfortable so that they'll buy from you. But I'm telling you, the phone call will make a difference. Retargeting, it's digital stalking. I showed you the thing with my shoes, but it does work. It's a repetition factor. It's in your head. If you're older like I am, you'll remember commercials from the 70s and the 80s that they just got burned into our memories and they'll always be there. And retargeting can do that. But remember, the average guy is getting 1,500 marketing messages a day. And that's a lot. And so he's being constantly interrupted with things in life. And so if you want to be the guy that he wants to buy from, you have to go ahead and step up and be in front of him as much as possible. Like I said, direct mail is a wonderful way to go. 17 days is the average lifespan of a direct mail piece. And since there isn't as much competition, you will find that over and over again, you will get a much higher response rate than, let's say, you even did in the 90s. Now, I have a business partner, Richard Miles. He's amazing. He's been in direct mail since the 90s. He has made millions of dollars in direct mail alone. And that was back then. Now it would even be higher because of that. Remember also, if you're a local business, you should be on your maps. You should make sure you're playing your maps listing. And so people can find you by keyword based on location. And don't discount TV and your very largest source, which is referrals. Ask for the review. Ask for the referral. I'm telling you, they will give it to you if you take good care of them. And all of this has to do with two issues. You've got to really care about your customers. You have to have a good product. You have to be willing to do what's needed to make them happy. And if you do that, you will have a successful business. So automating follow-up increases sales. Most small business owners are stuck because they don't have the time to follow up. When they do, their other tasks suffer. I see this a lot with solopreneurs. Automation is the only way to fix this. It creates time and money, increases the value of your leads. So you can increase time, increase sales without spending more on leads. It builds trust and recognition. It breaks through communication barriers, and it recovers sales that are being lost. And I want to make another point here, which is don't be afraid to use Swipe. I'm going to tell you, you're going to take courses. You'll see things online, like things like the similar email that I just showed you. Oh, and by the way, that's, I think, right, like an AppSumo deal for $39. It's totally worth it. Don't be afraid to use Swipe, because before you go and you go ahead and you craft things based on what has worked prior, then that's going to make a big difference. So now it's over to you guys, okay? You need to make your marketing plan and put together your marketing plan. What is your product? What is your market? Who is your competition? What is your position? And how are you going to make your public want your product or service? Anyway, this is Laura Betterly. I hope you enjoyed my class on how to increase your sales by automating follow-up. And I hope I answered the question why sometimes your leads and traffic are not converting. Talk to you next time.